Hello, and welcome to POMA Does, a podcast produced by the Pennsylvania Osteopathic Medical Association. We provide a voice for osteopathic medicine and share insights on issues important to osteopathic physicians, residents, and students, as well as those who embrace the osteopathic philosophy. POMA's mission is to promote the distinctive philosophy and practice of osteopathic medicine in Pennsylvania for our members and their patients. Thanks for tuning in.
All right, hello and welcome to the latest episode of the POMA Does podcast series, sponsored by the Pennsylvania Osteopathic Medical Association. I'm Gage Bollinger, DO, PGY2 at Forbes Family Medicine. I have a special interest in OMT and lifestyle medicine. So today we're going to go and explore some easy ways to exercise in the winter, how to stay motivated and focused, as well as building a routine, and how to stay safe while practicing these. I'm privileged to be joined by Dr. Jenny, Dr. Leary, and Dr. Hibschman. I'd like to start by asking each of you to introduce yourself and your interest in today's topic. How about we start with Dr. Leary?
Well, my name is Patrick Leary, and I've been a family physician, osteopathic trained in Kansas City, graduated in 1981, and I did my postgraduate work in Akron, Ohio, where I was raised and lived most of my life, and then subsequently went to Notre Dame and then the Kansas City School, became certified in family medicine, sports medicine, and geriatric medicine throughout my career. And I've been a program director in sports medicine at LECOM for the last 15 years. Prior to that, I was at the University of Notre Dame and started a program in sports medicine there. So that kind of galvanized my career. And my most recent interests have been taking care of people like me, trying to keep them active, keep them moving, not only in the wintertime, but in the summertime. And I've enjoyed doing that for some time now.
All right. Dr. Jenny, do you want to go next?
Sure. My name is Dr. Seth Jenny. I teach in the Department of Exercise Science and Athletic Training at Slippery Rock University of Pennsylvania. My kids call me, I'm not the real doctor. That's my wife who went to LECOM, who's a DO, even though I think I went to more years of school than her. She's the real doctor in the family. I'm a former collegiate distance runner. I ran a cross-country track and field at Slippery Rock. And most recently, about 5 years ago, I started a nonprofit running club in Grove City, Pennsylvania, called the Grove City Athletics Club. And we are USA Track and Field affiliated. We do group adult training runs, but also we have a heavy focus in elementary level, grades 2 through 6, cross-country, indoor and outdoor track and field programs. So that's how I really try to keep involved in the fitness side of the community.
And then finally, Dr. Hibschman.
Yeah, my name is Lauren Hibschman. I am a second-year resident, family medicine resident at Forbes Family Medicine, along with the wonderful moderator tonight, Dr. Bollinger. I went to medical school at LECOM, and before that, I was a collegiate field hockey player at Drexel University. So have been involved with athletics my whole life and kind of strive to continue to stay physically active through all of medical training. And so that kind of leads to my interest in sports medicine and a little bit of lifestyle medicine too.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, everyone. So let's start with a brief introduction to today's topic. Millions of people set New Year's resolutions every year, but very few successfully keep them. Nearly 50% want to exercise more, but almost 25% quit within the first week, and only 35% make it past January. So today we're going to share some easy exercises to start in the winter or continue in the winter, identify ways to stay motivated, and provide tips to prevent injuries and stay going, and what you should watch out for to protect yourself. So how about we start with the guru, as you referred to earlier, Dr. Leary.
You need to stop that. I go to China every year, at least I did like 6 years in a row. They always talk about the oldest guy is the smartest guy, and that's just not true. It's the Confucianism. But my master's at LECOM in medical education, we had to do a thesis, and mine was on the Wellness 5. And basically the Wellness 5 is that of diet and exercise, sleep, mental health, and substance abuse. And these are the things that show up any day of the year, but they certainly show up around the holidays. That I think that that's the ultimate integrative approach to any injury or any illness, is you want to make sure that what's going on in all 5 of those categories of your patients. So when you're talking about people out exercising when they haven't been exercising before, that's always a little dangerous. My geriatric background is that we don't want people slipping and falling on the ice, number one, because that makes, a bad situation worse. People are going to break hips and they're going to, foosh and hurt their arms and they're going to hit their heads. And these are, the enemy of good is better. You want to start slowly. You want to start safely. And I think that, the diet part of it, fresh vegetables and fruits, we have pretty much bad party diet in the wintertime at parties and the holidays. I always emphasize vitamin D. Mental health is a big issue. You get people together, they have seasonal affective disorder. They haven't seen people in a while. The holidays bring back bad memories. There's a lot of drinking. There's drinking and driving. 1/3 of all adults in the United States have a drinking problem. That right there is, the elephant in the room, because people also fall down when they're, inebriated or intoxicated. I'll leave the exercising to our exercising PhD gurus, but I always like to, have people do stretching and walking in the mall and getting in the, doing yoga, getting into a swimming pool somewhere if they have the capability of that. Biking, I don't like 60, 65-year-olds. I don't like them on bikes too much, because I think they'll fall. Dogs will bark at them. They'll hit cracks. They'll fall, foosh, hit their head. I like stationary bikes for older folks. Snowshoeing, cross-country skiing, skating, I love that stuff. Some people don't like the weather we have here, but the reason we all live here is because we like the seasons. And so we should take advantage of that. So, hydration, humidification, sleep, these are the important issues. And then, of course, the substance abuse that I talked about. That's just kind of an overview of how I approach people that want to stay active. As long as they have a routine, to me, it doesn't matter what they do, as long as they do it every day.
I like that view on it too. And I think you said something at the beginning too, is setting some appropriate goals. I think a new year starts and everyone has a vision of what they want to shoot for, want to go for, by the end of January or the end of the year. And I think people need to focus more on, and this is what I try and encourage the patients that I've had so far in training, is setting goals of what you would like to do, in the future. And I think that really helps guide people instead of going for an image and going for more of, I really want to do this hiking trip in the middle of the summer. Well, now it's a good time to start that. But as far as getting there and getting to that goal, what do you think, Dr. Jenny, is the exercise science component?
Yeah, definitely knowing what's their motivation to wanting to be there, because you're not going to do it unless you're not motivated. So I really like how you mentioned the time-based aspect of it, where by a certain date you will reach that goal. And then I think what's really important is that goals are attainable, something that's, if we're bringing training for a 5K and somebody who has not been exercising much at all, a 45-minute 5K might be an appropriate goal for someone as compared to, you trying to break 30 minutes when really 30 minutes is not realistic. So making sure that what you're wanting to do is within your grasp. And then as you get closer to that goal, you can reset it and make it a little bit more difficult. I think having accountability partners really helps. So exercising with people. I don't like swimming that much, but I signed up for a master's swim class at my local YMCA. And that sort of forces me every Tuesday night, which starts in 10 minutes right now. I'm going to try to hit there after this recording, because jumping into the pool is sort of stinks. But once you're in there and you get going, it's a whole lot easier. So signing up for like an exercise class that sort of forces you to show up is really helpful as well. Signing up for a competition, whether that would be a triathlon or, a 5K or some other type of event that that is coming in the future, so that it forces you to, hey, I need to get out there and get it done. Some people are really into some of the web-based exercise programs. I think Dr. Leary hit the nail on the head. If you haven't been exercising for a while, you probably need to talk with your doctor before you start. But some of those at-home exercise programs through Peloton and Zwift and these other things, they're live, and you might have a favorite leader of some of those exercise programs, and using that in interacting, where you really don't have to think about what you're doing, but you're just jumping on the bike, you're jumping on the treadmill, and assuming that it's an appropriate skill level or fitness level for what you're at. Those are some other ways that can really help get you on track to doing it on a regular basis and trying to make it a routine. And that's really the key.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to echo kind of what Dr. Jenny was saying, is having routine is really important. I think that's kind of what gets a little bit difficult for medical professionals, is just having such a busy, kind of hectic lifestyle. Getting that routine is a little bit more challenging. So I think some strategies that can help, something that I've found effective, if you have workout equipment at home, then you had mentioned like the web-based exercise programs can be really beneficial. Then you could do it at any point, but also, just kind of always being prepared to work out whenever you have a free moment. So I always have a gym bag packed in my car. So if I get out of office early, or if I have just an extra moment, I have the equipment to be ready to take advantage of that too.
Yeah, there's something mentioned by Dr. Jenny is there's a lot of amazing programs out there. And same for you, Dr. Hitchman, that you mentioned. Online programs are fantastic. Those apps, a lot of them are very affordable. But as we know, health is very much based on social determinants of health as well. And honestly, some of these YouTube videos that are free online are run by professional yoga instructors and weightlifting instructors, or just body weight exercises. So you don't need any equipment, or at least very minimal. And I think most people have at least something, or even a heavy textbook. I know we all have one of those laying around. And following some of those YouTube classes is a great free way to have access to those.
No one gets out of my office without me demonstrating a wand or a foam roller exercise. Those items are pretty cheap to have at home. And like you said, starting out with just some push-ups, sit-ups, and maybe an online yoga class or something. But I love the way it's talked about, just show up and get into a routine. This is going to offend people, but as long as you're doing something and you're doing it with some regularity, that's the start.
And that's often the biggest hurdle, is getting started. I think there's a big social pressure that we all feel. And maybe that's why the New Year's resolutions are such a big push, is there is that social push to actually get you to go out there and do it. But it's staying accountable, like was mentioned before, finding a buddy, find a friend, or find a group of people online who you can keep up with and have some fun with, and make sure you're keeping each other going.
I think one of the big issues, people who are just starting to exercise, they try to do too much too soon. Their intensity, how hard they're working out is way too hard, and really taking it easy, and they can try to do it in a more structured approach, where maybe just 1 minute of fast walking and 1 minute of easy walking is a good starting point, rather than trying to say, hey, I'm going to go run 20 minutes when you're probably not going to be successful. You're going to think that this stinks, and then you're not going to try it again because you weren't able to do your 20 minutes. And that's sort of what I'm talking about setting realistic goals, where maybe you're going to jog for 30 seconds and then you're going to walk for 2 minutes, and you repeat that for 10 to 20 minutes. And then you progressively build the amount of time that you're going to run. You don't need to worry about trying to run for a significant amount of time, as long as you can throw in those walk breaks in there early on, and you'll be able to sustain a longer workout than if you just tried to go blasting out the door.
Yeah. And I think once you start reaching those goals is another place where people fall off. Once you are doing that 20 minutes of running a day, you start to get bored. And I think changing it up, not getting stuck in the same routine. Routines are great, but trying to change it and find new things to get involved in also can really help reset your goals once you've hit a certain point, or if you just feel yourself kind of getting bored throughout it.
The mental health aspect, I think, is huge this time of year with seasonal affective and the long winter nights. Mentioned having a partner to do these things with. I think it's just a double bonus that you have time to exercise and God forbid, talk about issues as you walk and talk. Now, we said that you're not doing much if you can still have a decent conversation while you're doing it, like walking or jogging. But there's not a big difference between fast walking and jogging and then running. It's usually just a mile per hour. But I think the concept of trying to improve your mental state during these dark times with a routine is just a tremendous bone to, combating the mental health crisis that we have going on right now.
Absolutely. Trying to keep up with the mental health aspect, I think we get driven down by the metrics too. We are bombarded every day with our smartwatches, if you're wearing them, or Even our phones tell us how many steps we have and telling you, did you do a good job? Did you do enough today? I think people get bogged down in them. And if you like metrics, I think absolutely follow them. If that's what keeps you moving, getting you towards your next goal, or you need the reward icon on your Apple Watch, that's fantastic. But if you don't like them, please don't use them, because we get, like I said, bogged down and it makes you not want to do it. And you're like, I didn't quite reach that goal today. And that's something I think that we've all seen from our patients as well. But, through all of this, how do we stay safe? How do we keep protecting ourselves from getting injured? I know I tell my patients stretch after exercises, not before, because you can increase your rate of tears. But what do you guys recommend?
Yeah. So I was going to say, we've kind of hit on this a lot, but just, slowly increasing and having a realistic look at, where you are when you're starting and where you want to be, and like realistic goals, and not jumping in too far. But certainly stretching, I think, is a must, especially when you're getting back into it. And I think that, that's a great idea all around.
I can get into some of the exercising outside through the winter. I've quite a bit of experience with that. First of all, wearing layers is really important, because you might start off cold and then once you get going, you get hot. And so being able to make some of those adjustments. Dr. Leary mentioned ice, which is a major problem. Last year, maybe the year before, bought on Amazon called ice spikes. I went to Ace Hardware and compared them, and they're almost identical to gutter screws. And you can screw them right into the bottom of your shoes. And some people use what's called yak tracks, which are like they secure on the bottom of your foot to try to give you additional traction whenever you're walking on ice and snow. But I found these ice spikes, the gutter screws, can really be helpful. That go right into the shoe. Wearing reflective gear and vests, lights and headlamps for in the dark, using sidewalks and going against traffic when you're on foot is really important. As far as wind goes, that's when it gets really cold, when it gets windy. So covering the ears, and mittens always work better for me than gloves for keeping my hands warm. But, just where you're at a Steelers game or you're hunting, using some of those hand warmers inside your gloves can really keep that warm as well. Hydrating, because you're definitely sweating whenever you're out there in the cold. And then avoiding cotton, because using some of those moisture wicking materials is really going to be better for you, that they don't retain the moisture. And then lastly, when it's really cold, covering your skin, because any exposed skin, whenever you're approaching 20 degrees, 15 degrees, you can warm up inside before you go out, is another way for that. And then even wearing like a gaiter over your face to breathe in and out that warm air can be another trick for exercising in the cold there.
And I hate to say this, but there's nothing wrong with, going to the mall and, walking briskly around there. There's bathrooms there, there's warmth there, there are people there. God forbid you should have some event or have a problem, somebody could assist you. So this comes into the safety aspect of, you want to have your phone with you if you're out, even if you're with a partner. You want to be familiar, maybe do things as much as you can in the daylight, although, it's the sun's dropping or sunsetting at 4:30 now for a few more days. So being sensible, which, is not always, seen, is pretty smart. But certainly all those things you said about covering your ears and your head, your hands, and not falling, slipping, fooshing, and breaking your head. Those are the things we want to stay away from.
And Dr. Leary, you mentioned carrying your phone with you or having a buddy is important. I think also if you're going out, if you are alone or even with someone else, having someone at home base that you could just say, hey, I'm going out for a run, or I'm going out doing this, letting them know this is what your plan is, this is where your goal is. So that way, if something does happen and you haven't touched base with them in a while, or you don't come back in a certain amount of time, they know where you are, or heaven forbid, they have to come find you. So any last couple things to put on? I think we're having a great conversation, but we might want to be wrapping it up at this moment. People are probably either getting home or getting to work. Any last thought?
I think it's very holistic, very integrative, very osteopathic, that you assess, the hydration, nutrition, sleep, exercise. They say that exercise is more to stay alive than if you smoke and you're diabetic and you're obese. We call it smoke-a-diabesity in my talks. that exercise is more important than those other things. So exercise is medicine. If you don't exercise, you're going to drop over in some capacity. So it's essential you do something, even if it's in the winter months.
I think we're all going to have to steal that smoke of diabesity from you.
It's not mine. I copied that one.
I'll throw in a few last tips. Trekking poles, Nordic walking sticks, really helpful for balance. If it's really cold, I wear wind briefs. So underwear that has an extra layer in the front to cover my nether regions to help with that area a little bit. And then another motivation tip, put some of those exercise clothing or new running shoes or a new watch or whatever on your Christmas list, because sometimes just having one of those new items that you feel like you need to use helps you get out the door.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think just to, wrap it up is just get out there and have something that you're doing and really taking that first step. Everything that we went through today, making sure you're safe about it when you're outside, protecting yourself. But even if you can't go outside, there are indoor options, as Dr. Leary had mentioned, and get a little bit creative in the winter too. I mean, if you are young and able to get out there and shovel, that is a wonderful exercise. And so just being a little bit more creative with, if you're in an area that's snowing, there are a lot of things to do with that.
Well, thank you all so much for joining the POMA Does podcast. Again, we're sponsored by the Pennsylvania Osteopathic Medical Association. Get out there and enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of POMA Does. Be sure to subscribe to POMA Does wherever you listen to your podcasts, and tell your friends and colleagues to tune in. Learn more about osteopathic medicine and POMA on our webpage, www.poma.org, and join the conversation on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube, or email us at poma@poma.org. We'd love to hear from you. Join us next time for another edition of POMA Does.